One, two, three, four.
You're listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast. We're an independent, general interest bookstore putting great reads in the hands of people in the Los Feliz neighborhood of Los Angeles. Hosted by resident Skylighters, we're here to bring you new and exciting author conversations, group reads, and bookseller chats. Happy listening.
Hello, my beautiful listeners, and welcome to SKYLIT. This is the SKYLIT Books podcast, and I'm your host, Lance Morgan. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Duncan Birmingham to talk about his new book, The Cult in My Garage, and Other Stories. Duncan Birmingham is a writer and filmmaker living in Los Angeles. He's been a writer and producer on numerous TV shows, including Maron, starring Mark Maron, and Blunt Talk. Short films he's written and directed have premiered at film festivals, including Sundance and AFI. His stories have appeared in literary magazines, including Mystery Tribune, Maudlin House, Nerve, Juked, 7x7, Brooklyn Volume 1, and Joyland. Duncan, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. This is a real treat.
No, this is the treat's ours. This is gonna be fun. I had such a great time reading your book. I said the Cult in my garage, and Other Stories, but I'm pretty sure I got the wrong there.
I think that works. It's the Cult in my garage, but it's a book of stories. You know, I even talked about that. Should it say in Other Stories? I mean, what I like when I pick up an author's collection, I kind of like the titular story, and you gotta flip through it to realize it's a book of stories. They sneak a book of stories in on you.
Well, now that I've renamed it, and officially I'll be writing and Other Stories on every copy we have in the store now. I think I made the good choice there. I'm joking. Don't come after me, editors. Don't come to SKYLIT being like, how dare you change the name of this book? No, Duncan, you have a reading for us today?
I do. I was going to read most of a story. I don't want to wear out my welcome, but most of the story called Quebec.
Perfect.
And if you are dying to hear how it ends, there's only another page left when I get to the end, so you'll just have to pick up the book.
Ooh, leaving us with a little teaser there, or not teaser, what's the word I'm looking for? Cliffhanger. So
all right, so this story is called Quebec. I hadn't been out of my apartment much that winter when I met her at a party. I'm not exactly a party person and was busying myself finding a cracker or anything to leverage some dip with when she said to stop staring at her. Ha ha, she had a witch's laugh. I'm screwing with you. Stare all you want. Me? I'd made myself go to the party, but had forgotten to prepare myself for talking to people. She told me I probably recognized her from the commercial where she played the girl on the bus with the headphones on, eating a submarine sandwich. She did a little dance and mimed eating an impossibly huge sandwich. Can you imagine someone actually doing that? Who writes that shit? She said. By now, I'd assume she was talking to me because there was no one else in the hall. Her chapped lips were circled with holiday punch, and her tumbleweed hair was held in place by one strained strand tucked behind her little ear. She took my phone and followed a handful of accounts on Instagram that she said I would find repulsive, but in a fun way. One was a septuagenarian porn star with a plastic surgery addiction. Another, a toothless collector of botched taxidermy, plus an obese woman bottle feeding her possum. Instagram must have taken down the photo where she's breastfeeding that giant rat, she said, disappointed, scrolling. But way ride home from the party, I unfollowed all those unfortunate people except for the girl. She had used my phone to follow herself, which I thought was a clever and forward way to connect us, and who was I not to reach out and ask if I could buy her a beer? On our first date, she had me sit on the couch with her and run lines for a big audition for another sandwich spot. I'm getting typecast because I can open my jaw wide, she said, and stuck a socked foot in my face. Don't get any ideas, perv boy. She complimented my line readings and filled her mason jars with red wine and told me this would only take a couple hours. And don't think I don't know what you're thinking right now, she said. Another crazy fucking actress. She never sat still and took pride in calling herself out on things before anyone else could. I know my laugh is over the top, so stop looking at me like you want to kill me, or don't think I don't remember that I said I was only going to have one drink at dinner, or just because I have X amount of cats doesn't make me a cat lady. She would sit down to eat a dinner she destroyed her kitchen in the process of making, Before I could even try it, she'd shove a bite in her mouth and proclaim it a disaster. Don't eat that. She'd hustle the plate out from under my fork with beet-stained hands, toss the entire dish in the garbage like it was rat poison, and tell me to open another bottle of wine. I'd do as I was told, curious to see what would happen next. The first time she came with me, she threw me off her, darted out of the bedroom, and returned seconds later in a turtleneck and sweats, crunching through a bowl of cartoon cereal like she'd been binging a TV show. Oh, what? So now I'm the selfish lover? She accused through a mouthful of purple cereal. Oh, God, that word, lover. Gross, 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 gross. She called me purr boy when I kissed her and Judge Judgy if I didn't say anything, and Mr. Scratchy Beard when she introduced me to people. She had a funky tattoo on her shoulder that looked like a cross between a turd and Mr. Potato Head. It's a turd, she snapped when I asked, then shook her head at me. Come on, who's ever heard of a turd with eyeballs? One time in bed, she told me my penis lolled to one side like her boyfriend's in Quebec. His is a little bigger, though, she added. This time, I may have looked at her a little like I wanted to kill her. I'm kidding, she screamed and did her witch's laugh. You should have seen your face. You should have seen your face. Then she thrust her tumbleweed of hair in the crook of my arm and explained she made dumb jokes like that when she was afraid and liked someone. I kissed her purple-stained mouth. Oh, perv boy. She told me I had negative thinking patterns as well as antisocial tendencies and was always loaning me self-help books and demanding them back if I hadn't read them the next day. Out in public, she accused me of flirting with any woman that talked to me. Who? That woman with the clipboard? I'd ask. She blamed her jealousy on her OCD, which didn't make much sense if you saw her bathroom. I'd tell her she was the only weirdo for me, and she'd say, I make the jokes around here. She cranked the Fox News up loud and yelled at me that she was learning how the enemy thought and that I needed to get out of my bubble. She was vegan unless it was after midnight on a weekend, then she'd howl drunkenly for pepperoni pizza. I know, but how many cows did you save this week? She had a crush on Bela Lugosi and was endlessly disappointed by my hair. No matter how she positioned it, it just didn't have a widow's peak. Before I could decide if something bothered me, she'd already accused me of resenting her for it, thrown up her hands as if to say that's just who she was, then lassoed her bony arms around me and licked my face like a dog and asked if I could stomach the sight of her for 1 second longer. I could. We sometimes fought for hours, broke up, and got back together without me uttering a word. I thought about the nature shows I used to watch as a kid, about birding, how patience and no sudden movements for hours could yield such beauty and flashes of joy. It's not a turd. It's one of the California Raisins. You know the Raisins from the 80s who sang Motown songs, she said, late one night, sitting on the side of the bed in the dark. My dad loved them. Like the cartoons, I was half asleep. Or claymation? The last thing he said to me was to sing the California Raisins song. They were his favorite band. She had her back towards me and I reached up and rubbed it. I don't think he even knew who I was at that point, she said. Eventually, she stopped throwing me off her to go eat cereal after she came, and I'd gratefully wrap up my side of things lickety-split. If I saw her staring at me jealously at a party or drugstore, I'd let my jaw go slack and roll my eyes back until whatever female was talking to me hurried away in embarrassment. That made her laugh. I'd pick up a bag of tacos on my way home to the apartment, hiding them in my coat pocket and pretending to find them like magic after she'd flung our dinner away. When she told me to stop looking at her like I wanted to kill her, I'd roll on top of her and smother her with a pillow. Are you dead yet, baby? I'd ask and lift up the pillow. Her face would be red, mostly with laughter. I'd do this over and over, tickling her and kissing her face before clamping the pillow down over it again. Dead yet? I became mostly vegan too and even watched Fox News ironically with her. What a holiday for myself it was. Nor one for once. And yeah, it's about 3/4 of that story.
Yeah, no, that I know the ending of that story, but to the listeners, you want to read it. You want to check it out. It's I mean, and to start off onto my first question, for you, your story surprised me because when I started the book, I was like, oh, I could see the tone of this. It's going to be funny. It's going to be smart, funny. It's going to surprise me at the end in a way that I'm going to look at and be like, I'm going to just chuckle to myself and be like, this is a great ending. No, they are dark. Some of these stories are very dark in a way that I love. I love a good dark, like twist on a story, but it came out of nowhere for some of them for me, where I was just like, wow, this is a good twist. Did you come at it with like that sense of like, oh, I'm gonna like, these stories are gonna, you're gonna think that they're this one thing and then turn into this like darker tale of like my own critique on this specific topic?
I love that question. Well, I do like stories that have curveballs.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would say maybe I came from the point of view where a lot of the characters in the stories are, maybe you find them they're funny and they're amusing because they are going through a lot, or they have certain like very neurotic tendencies or obsessions.
And they were like heightened versions of like the real people too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think, yeah, they're very heightened, going through heightened versions of pain or breakup or
Right.
or different types of neuroses, and those things often do, it would seem, end in darker ways than we might hope. So it felt maybe like I wasn't consciously trying to come up with a curveball, but it felt like since the characters are so kind of twisted up, it felt like I was trying to, push them to whatever that cathartic moment was. Cathartic being something that can be good for them. Like I'm thinking of the one story about the revenge app, where I think he does experience some genuine catharsis and probably ends up kind of getting over the woman he was obsessed with. But in most cases, like in real life, even though these stories are very, very heightened, the the neurotic behavior and the obsessions usually cause the characters to kind of skid out in dark, unexpected ways.
Well, it's also, I mean, there was a refreshingness in it too, in a sense. I love a good like short comedy series. Like recently I read the Simon Rich's new book of short stories. And so I was reading it like, oh yeah, I got another Simon Rich, and or another like this comedy set of short stories. And then I was like, oh wait, but this is what a great dark twist on these stories too. And like the characters too, you don't make it easy on them. You make them sweat a lot of the times too. You make them work for a lot of their endings they have to work for in a really interesting way. Did you do a lot of soul searching there to be like, oh, this is how I kind of want to, my brain wants to say punish, well, and like a god smite these characters? No, like did you really like go through a lot of inner thought, inner process, inner searching to like see how you wanted these characters to grow through their lessons?
I think I did, although now I'm like, I wish I was just writing some more fun Simon Rich type stories.
No, we don't. Listen, Simon Rich, we don't need Simon Rich. We need more Duncan Birmingham.
I don't know if the world agrees, but I think I think it's still, almost like the other question kind of goes back to who the characters are, and because I think when we meet them, for the most part in these stories, they've kind of been spiraling for a bit. We're usually meeting them towards their, in movie terms, I guess, towards the crisis third act. Whatever their problems are, usually things they've been wrestling with for a while. I'm thinking of the kind of 50-something writer in the writer's room who's kind of time has come, or the the guy that gets out of rehab and has a very odd relationship with his best friend. Those are people that are very very set in their patterns. So if the story is going to be about, and sometimes I like stories that are just slices of life where you just kind of peek in on someone in their pattern. And really there's not much that happens, which is very true to life. But since these stories, like you said, felt a little heightened, and I wanted to have some highs, some comic highs and some dramatic lows, kind of felt like I wanted to start whatever these stories were kind of near the characters' crisis points. So in that way, I didn't think I was really kind of sitting back punishing them. I was just trying to think of what really would happen if this person is like a boiling tea kettle sitting in his writer's room every day, resenting everyone, crushing on a woman who's half his age, and bemoaning his ex-wife. It would seem like he's got to act out in some way.
And I mean, that was another thing I really, really did enjoy, because I feel like with especially like short story collection like this, it might be hard to find out where to start for each character's story, but I feel like you did a really good job of giving us, enough information about their background and where they're coming from to find a really good start for their stories, where it quickly reaches that like boiling point for them, where they have to reckon with their lives, their decisions, their consequences, in a way that I felt really did a good job of making these stories impactful in such a quick way that I just, each story impacted me in that way, where every one of them I sat back and I was like, whoa. The first one, especially, like the TV writers one really was like ooh, yeah, I mean, if you live in LA, you know that guy, that guy. But like the titular story also felt like that too. It felt like very just quick and memorable, not rememberable. Quick and memorable. Yeah. So these stories came from, like, we wrote these stories. You've been on a journey with a lot of these stories. Can you talk about that for a little bit? Like, where because if you look in the book, you can see all of the origins of each story, right?
Yeah. So I've written stories for years. I would say, most of these stories are. I mean, I rewrote. Just let everyone know. I rewrote them all for the book, even if they were in lit mags before. I think the oldest story by far is Everybody's Famous, which is one of the more surreal stories, and that appeared in a site that's not up anymore, StoryCorps, that I really liked, and that was probably like 8 years ago. But the rest are stories that and I rewrote that for the book, and the rest are stories that I wrote probably more in like the last 3 or 4 years, with the idea that it maybe if I wrote enough, I'd be able to whittle them down, find some commonalities, and put a collection together. And even the newer ones, like the ones that appeared in like Maudlin House or Joyland, or two of the lit mags have published a lot, and like kept at rewriting those to try and not so much keep them current, but just be the best stories they can be. Non-essential workers is the story that I wrote during the pandemic. That's kind of like the one that was like building a boat as like the water was like rising around me. That was I don't know how the story came out. I hope people like it. That was a really tough one, because the pandemic is still raging, and I just wanted to kind of capture that summer of that first magical pandemic summer of what everyone was doing, at least in my neighborhood here in LA, in terms of like the fires, COVID, the things that we've kind of forgotten about a little bit, like washing the groceries and banging the pots and pans for the healthcare workers at 8. So there was a lot of obviously misery, but there was also kind of like maybe a little bit more hope in terms of this is going to be like a 6-month thing. But that story was really about the character being so isolated and so cut off from the world, even before the pandemic, that the only way he seems to be able to connect is subconsciously, as he has these dreams that turn out to maybe even not be his own dreams, he theorizes.
And I mean, like, yeah, there's God, thinking about that time, I felt, what was I, like 10? I felt like I was a child then. But no, I mean, what I feel like that's interesting to make the choice to include that story in with, stories you wrote maybe before the pandemic, stories you did right before the pandemic, but stories that you have collected throughout this time. Then to put this, why did you decide to put that story in there?
I wanted to have, it felt like, as I was writing the book, as the pandemic's happening, it felt like at that point I'd already been talking to Model and House, the publishers. So it seemed like, all right, so this is going to come out like in a year. Felt like I wanted to have, and I wanted to have something that had a toe in that world. It felt important to me just because I had the opportunity, because
Right.
the book already had its little deal and was going to come out. So why not try and get something in there now that I felt like kind of express my feelings about at least where we were at the beginning of the pandemic.
No, I mean, that's a great, I feel like that's a great, reason to put something like, contemporary in there, something that's, gets the audience to connect. Did you have a specific reason for placing it where you did in the book? Like, was there an order for them to? I like the Irish goodbye ending was great for me, but a part of me was like, I'm curious why the pandemic one wasn't last.
Oh, that's interesting. I felt like the pandemic one's a pretty chunky story, and sometimes I kind of like the bigger ones in the middle,
like a meteor,
and the foodie detective. I mean, and also, there's elements of the first, kind of the first 4 stories are kind of like ones that I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm leading with my best foot forward. I feel like there's certainly elements of the non-essential workers. I think it's maybe not as funny as the other stories. It's kind of a more of a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And then plot wise, anything that has to do with dreams is a little tricky. So it's not like there's almost, I like to think there is a dream logic to the story, but it is maybe not as linear and not as clear cut as some of the other stories. So I guess that's why my way of saying it's hiding in the middle, as opposed to at the end, where it might feel like I'm trying to say something a little more definitive about the pandemic and where we are than I really could. I felt like the Irish goodbye, that kind of sour grapes, Hollywood writer character. So since we've kind of touched on him a little bit through the older TV writer character, I like the idea of like kind of touching base with this other character, and I like that story, the way it kind of ends on a very ambiguous note.
I mean, a true Irish goodbye.
Yes. Irish goodbye. In fact, I don't know how everyone. I do not understand the logic of going someplace and telling people goodbye at a party. I mean, if you're having a drink with someone, it's different. This is a very goodbye, but yeah.
I mean, I was expecting you to just sign off after that and be like, well, I'd be like, all right, the podcast is over then. That was a real Irish goodbye moment from Duncan Birmingham. I mean, what a way to end this podcast episode. I would respect it.
That I could pick up my new mic and drop it.
Perfect.
I love it. In the ending, it's ambiguous. Does he? I feel like the character is left with kind of the conundrum that a lot of the characters are. It's like, oh, do I let this in that case, the car going by that might have the celebrity that is going to my my god cousin's dinner at the chateau, is that something real that I'm going to chase, or am I just going to keep walking? And I feel like that's kind of a question that a lot of the characters are facing, especially in the more Hollywood stories, kind of chase the dragon a little bit, or kind of forge your own path.
Right. I mean, and if you had the choice, what would you choose? Which one of those two do you think? Or do you want to leave it a little, mysterious to the audience?
I'd like to be a little mysterious, but I guess since I'm still here doing what I'm doing, I'm chasing after Jackie Chan, going to the Chateau Marmont.
And aren't we all? Isn't that what the city is about? The city of LA. We're all chasing some sort of
Chasing our own
something.
personal Jackie Chan's. Yeah.
Well, talking about the city, I just want to ask you, and this might be a little of a spicy question, but I feel like you'd be okay with it, seeing as the cover of the book I'm holding up right now is a palm tree on fire. Do you, in the most loving of ways, do you a little bit hate LA? Because I felt a little bit of, animosity towards the city in a way that I feel like everyone feels when, a bus cuts you off on the street, or you accidentally step on some dog shit while you're getting a taco around the corner. I felt that kind of like, God damn the city, when I was reading it in a lot of ways, in a way that I felt comforted by.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I don't want to disappoint you then, but I do really love LA. Like when I first moved out here, like everyone, the first moved out from the East Coast, the first year's rough.
Mhm.
You'd been warned about LA.
Mhm.
And after year 2, I remember I started to like it, and I almost felt guilty for liking it because I've been so poisoned with and told that LA is not a good city. People aren't good people. That I was like, am I a bad person? Am I a bad person? Like, I love this weird kind of bizarre dream city that I just moved to, but also felt like I'd lived in many years because you know it if
Yeah.
you're a pop culture person, you love movies and TV.
Mhm.
So no, I mostly love LA. I feel like maybe in the last couple of years, I've gotten a little itchy. It does feel like for anyone, you're kind of trapped. We're all kind of trapped a little bit where we are.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of the people that are able to kind of
The
get in.
jet setters.
Yes, I don't know why. Not that I only have a dog. There's nothing really holding me here, but yeah, no. Overall, I do love the city. I do love
It's it's a great city. I've been here for a year and a half now, and I love it here. We are bad. I feel like we are bad people. We are, city, we are one earthquake away from descending into hell. But you know what? I love that. I would never leave. To quote, was it? Um, Only the good die young, I'd rather laugh with the sinners, right?
Exactly.
We're better too than LA. But no, in talking about sinners, I feel like a lot of them are in this book. A lot of the LA personalities are in this book in a way that I felt like I met a lot of these characters, the lonely hearts, the cult leaders, the TV writer, as I said before, they both young and old. The the I couldn't stop laughing every time. I reread the TV writer story, and I couldn't stop laughing at the end of that because what a move! Like
Oh,
what a I feel like every story I've been warned about a TV writer's room has been like, oh yeah, that's it. That's what it's like. That's someone would do something like that at the end. I won't spoil it for you listeners, but just know it's an explosive ending in a
yes,
fun way.
the ending is an ending that probably would not happen in a TV writer's room much anymore. It's kind of a throwback to the kind of stuff that the narrator used to be up to in less PC days when he was more the king of the room and the cock of the walk. But yeah, that story just came about. I love being in TV writers' rooms. I'm available. Yeah, no, big fan. But I would say it is if you are having a really bad day, pitching comedy sometimes can be a little tricky. So the idea was someone who has just gone down a rabbit hole of deep dark depression and is also aging out of his role. Like, how would that work in the writer's room, and how difficult would that be? So that was the idea with that story.
And I love the dynamic there too of him. A part of me was also like, I would love to see like an extended, for a lot of these I would love to see like an extended version of them, their own book for the story. But this one I would have loved to see like a feud between those two, the younger and the older writer, in a more like I got to see the perspective of the younger one too, but like a feud back and forth with, you know, some zany plot. Like it felt like that too, where I was like, here are two different sides of the spectrum in this space that, like, you know, it's already high. It's a heightened space already. A TV writer's room is a crazy space, right? And now you're having this guy who feels like he's being ousted and this guy who's trying to find his way in. What a great you know, just electric space for that. No, it felt really it felt really fun to be in that story. That's like, if it just, that was fun. And a lot of these are fun too. The woman who takes the pill to that, what another ending that was fun. Listeners, I need you to read this because I won't spoil anything, but you will have a fun time with that first story.
Oh, good. Yeah, classic Amy about the
Classic Amy.
love pill that she.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted to come up with. I'm glad you like that. I really wanted to come up with a twist for that. I think I had the twist maybe before I had the story. Something feel real, and yeah, you know, a lot of these, like the Good in the Room about the TV writer, the foodie detective, exterminator, are like kind of seeds for bigger works that either I have worked on or have tried to work on, and they've petered out. I've definitely looked at the foodie detective and been like, oh, can I write this as a novel? It's been a little tricky, but who knows? It might still happen. The story Exterminator, about the guy whose kind of masculinity is challenged by his kind of very eccentric female exterminator. That was a story. Then I made it into a short film. Then I wrote the script of it, and I've been shopping the script around. So if I could just write short stories all day, that is my number one thing that I enjoy. But yeah, a lot of them kind of sometimes end up being blueprints for other things or longer works. So that's nice. I like short stories that feel like you know, you want them to continue, especially yeah, most novels I read, I'm like ready to get out. But most good short stories, I'm always like left wanting more, and I like that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's why there's a definite want for both of those, because sometimes you want a good ending, but sometimes you also want to, like, oh wow, I want more. I leave them wanting more, right? That's always a fun feeling for both the reader and the writer too, right? I want to also know about, because you just mentioned it too, like, you said you would write short stories all day, but you're also a TV and film writer too. How do you balance those two writing styles in your day-to-day life, and also, like, you know, while writing this too?
Well, it's usually TV is kind of what pays the bills usually. So I kind of try and do that, but sometimes that doesn't often happen.
Right.
And I kind of have my list of short story ideas where if I am either not working or not actively chasing down TV work, which is what a lot of my work is, yeah, I'm working on these short stories. So maybe a couple of years ago, you know, in my 30s, I'd shopped a novel and that hadn't gone anywhere. And then I think, like I said, a lot of these stories are collected from years and years of literary magazines, but it's really like 2 or 3 years ago where I was like, hold it, I got like a bunch of stories here. I feel like if I really like redouble my efforts and you know, the little light at the end of the tunnel is being able to send them out to literary magazines and publish them there. So I was like, I really need to kind of buckle down and work on a collection. So I kind of made an effort to carve the time writing the stories out of my day, especially in the last 2 years. It's just like so nice to be able to have something that you wrote yourself that nobody else is tinkering with, that you know, you're able to put out in the world, as opposed to a script, which is something that's a blueprint for a collaborative effort with other people that usually,
Right.
in my case, nobody does anything with, and I somehow get screwed. So there's I couldn't love writing stories more, but yeah, TV, dramedies, and then I wrote and directed a very very low budget horror movie this fall. That was kind of a
Congratulations.
big thing. Thank you.
No problem. That's a very, wow, this past fall too. That is, what a time to be doing that too.
It was crazy. It was crazy. The COVID element was
Yeah.
another challenge on top of like all the many challenges.
Mhm.
It was a really crazy 12-day night shoots. I
Oh,
had
wow.
amazing
Night shoots.
actors that really brought it home and
Wow.
saved my bacon. And yeah, hopefully it'll be out soon. It's called Who Invited Them?
Who invited them? Look out for it, listeners. Look out for it. No, I mean, that's, yeah, and to put out a book in that during that time too, you are, congratulations. That is no small feat. The well, I am sad to say we have to wrap up, but the last thing I want to ask you, and I'm very excited about this because it was my favorite story, was the titular story, The Cold in My Garage. I want you to know I did not know what to expect with this story, because whenever in a book of short stories you go to that the one that is the titular one, and you're like, always it's always a surprise, it's always a mystery about what it's going to be. This one, I felt so connected to the main character. It surprised me in a way.
Great.
It felt also great. I felt great in this COVID, this crazy 19th COVID wave that we're in, to see the story about escape from your regular life. Can you talk about your history with that story and where it came from in you?
Sure. Well, I really liked that. I kind of had the title before the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we used that title for the book. At one point, somebody told me the title sounded too much like a Goosebumps novel. And almost like the whole, but I'm glad we stuck with it. So
I mean, that's a compliment to me. I'd be like, yeah,
okay.
R.L. Stein's Goosebumps, amazing.
I know it probably would. Yeah, I wouldn't mind picking up some R.L. Stein sales for people that made a mistake. So there was kind of the idea of the title before the story, and I guess I just like this idea of like this the surreal image of
Mm-hmm.
A cult or whatever that means in some kind of like really domestic
Mm-hmm.
setting, and from there kind of spiraled out into this like idea. I love stories about unwanted house guests that
Mm-hmm.
overstay their welcome, and like toxic bros that can be super annoying, and
Mm-hmm.
how like rough male friendships can be on someone who's like an outsider from
Mm-hmm.
that friendship. So yeah, that idea of kind of a wife, a woman that's put up with a lot from her
Mm-hmm.
husband when she's really kind of doing everything in the household in terms of making the money and taking care of the kid, having to deal with like this crazy friend from college coming into town, and then the crazy friend from college actually being a very, very, very different than what you would expect from him,
Yeah.
and having a different type of relationship with her than you would expect was the idea of the story.
Well, even you saying that it's the visitor, the toxic, that element of the toxic male bro, it felt, even when you just said that, I was like, yeah, but the toxic male bro is in the house, he's already there. It's like there was and without spoiling too much for you, listener, there was a really nice twist in there where I wasn't expecting the relationship between the visitor and the main character to end up like that. And a part of me was like, a part of me in the middle was like, good for her. Because the character got some, she got some relief from that. And relief from herself too, in a way that I felt very, I responded too strongly. Apparently that might say something more about me. I should probably send this recording to my therapist afterwards to talk about.
No, I feel like my feeling too was I was like, oh, I do want to see her escape. Although it is kind of that bittersweet escape. It's that, do you keep walking down Sunset Boulevard, or do you go? It was that Jackie Chan. And I'm going to go back to the Chateau Marmont moment of the last story where she's escaping. She's also taking her son and the car and going off with a man who is some kind of self-proclaimed prophet who probably doesn't have a great life plan himself.
I mean, he's the charm alone could probably take them far. No, but like, even there's a part where a little fake out part at the end where you have her have one nice last day with her husband, and I expected that to be like, oh, she decided that her life was like worth it, but it just, what was the reason behind that? Because I mean, other than like a fake out, but like her to have that like nice last moment with him.
Just that element of, and I don't know who more eloquent writers say this, so I'm stealing whatever wisdom I've gleaned. Having your characters, even the more supporting characters, kind of have their grace moment. So in the story, the husband, who seems like a bit of a buffoon, and is a bit of a buffoon, has a redeeming moment where he is making a plan for her to, like, carve out a little more time for her writing and some more her time, and does some nice things for her. And part of that is he can probably feel that vibration in the air you feel when someone's losing interest and is leaving. So it's his last stab. And part of it is because you want to, I should say, I want to have a moment in the story that makes it make sense. Why is this woman, who's kind of smart and sardonic and cool, like, why'd she stick with this guy for so long? Oh, there it is. There's that glimmer of the guy he used to be before they kind of got stuck in the marriage doldrums. So so that was that moment, and to make it a real choice for her at the end, when she.
And I mean, that moment was another surprise moment for me, of realizing, and I think she knew it too, from what I got from it, that she was also being kind of the bad guy there, in the sense of like, she knew what she was doing. She, like, there was a line at the end where she says, I can find it real quick. He knew as well as I did our garage would never be anything but a garage. And I read that being like, oh, is it her like being like, oh, I will never expect anything from him. I know that he'll fail no matter what. But also, like, after reading the ending of it, I was like, oh, is it her being like, I don't want to put that hope into him either, and make him let me down, but not give him the chance to. And it felt really, I don't know, it made the characters, at that moment change for me into, like, I thought she was the victim, but now he might be the victim in a lot of ways, that husband. And it made me, sad for a character I never thought I'd be sad for.
Oh, I love that. So, that's great.
I love
that reading.
No, I found that very impactful.
I think, yeah, when you're the one leaving, I think that's a very loaded line. When you're the one leaving, it's probably a mixture of she feels like she's probably not believing that his good intentions, while sincere, are going to be followed up on. But you know what? Maybe she's just telling herself that because she has already decided in her mind that it's easier and more convenient and more pleasurable for her to leave. So
yeah, like, it's giving herself an excuse to leave him, instead of putting that blame on herself as well. Yeah, no, I mean, and listeners, that's something that I felt throughout the book. Just like, these again, heightened characters who are also, because that cult leader, very heightened character. The blue sodas were, I don't know why, but every time I saw a character with a blue soda in that story, I just started like chuckling, because that imagery of all of them with just blue sodas as they're like, as a part of like the signature of the cult was just so entertaining to me. But like, it was heightened in a lot of ways, but also just like, the character got real at the end there too. And to me, and it was just great to read that. So, I just loved it. I had a great time with that story and all the stories. So I don't know, listeners, go read it. Go grab a copy, and buy it. Grab a copy, buy it, flip through it, read through them, and you will be surprised. You will be very surprised about what you'll find in this book. Duncan, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks for having me. This is great, and thanks for such a careful reading of the book.
No, thank you for writing this book and bringing it to the store, and being on today. This has been a great conversation. I had a lot of fun. Before we go, is there anything you would like to say to our listeners and the independent bookstore community?
Just that I love the independent bookstore community. I'm such a fan of SKYLIT. I've been in LA for 20 years, and I don't even have enough fingers and toes to count all the great readings I've seen there at SKYLIT. Whether it was the J.T. Leroy crazy reading back in the day, or yeah. I've discovered so many writers that I'm still reading now, like Richard Lang and Jerry Stahl and Jonathan Ames, who I'm now also lucky enough to know those writers as well, but many of them I discovered at SKYLIT. And it just feels like, it just feels like there's reading, and also being able to go into a bookstore and chat with the people that work there or the people that are shopping there about the books that I'm reading and picking out is such a big part of the experience. The independent bookstores to me are the lifeblood, the spine of the whole thing. So thank you guys for being there. And like I said before we started recording, I was there Christmas Eve, and it was like so nice just to be there. It's like they're so calming just to be there, getting my books wrapped to give out as gifts, and to have you guys be open. It was really awesome.
Shout out to our book wrappers, our gift wrappers. Yeah, our gift wrappers that they carried us this Christmas. So thank you to all of them. But thank you to you, Duncan. This was so much fun, and your book was such a great read. I had a fantastic time. I can't wait for you to come in and maybe sign some copies, listeners. Maybe we'll have some copies signed at the store. But no, thank you again, Duncan. And to our listeners, thank you for coming back. Or if this is your first time, thank you for listening. Go back and listen to some of our other episodes. We have some fantastic authors like Duncan who've been on. So yeah, check us out and look at, and keep an eye out for our schedule. We have some exciting authors coming on. So yeah, welcome and come back soon. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast series. Please don't forget to visit our website at skylitbooks.com and make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more author talks and bookseller conversations. You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you back in our store soon.